That was the day my life cracked open like one of those overripe tomatoes from the corner bodega, spilling secrets I didn't even know I was keeping. I'd been in New York for 3 years, chasing the ghost of some half-baked dream as a painter, but all I'd painted lately was a trail of bad decisions. Skipped meals to buy pigments, late nights nursing cheap whiskey while staring at blank canvases, and a lease I couldn't afford on the shoebox apartment in Bed-Stuy. The building was a relic from the 20s, all creaky stairs and exposed brick that flaked like old skin, but it was mine, or had been, until Lorenzo Vitali decided to collect. Lorenzo owned the whole block, a self-made kingpin of real estate who'd clawed his way up from nothing. Italian roots ran deep in him, from the gold chain peeking out of his collar to the way he carried himself, like he owned not just the walls but the air inside them. I'd seen him around, barking orders at plumbers, charming the elderly widows in 3B with bouquets of roses from his sister's shop. He was in his early 40s, built like a retired boxer, broad shoulders straining against his flannel shirts, a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow that made him look equal parts dangerous and desirable. I'd catch myself lingering in the stairwell, pretending to check my mail, just for a whiff of his cologne, that woodsy mix of pine and cigar smoke. Stupid, right? A broke queer kid mooning over his straight as a ruler landlord. But New York has a way of blurring lines, turning survival into something almost poetic. He stormed past me that afternoon, his boots thudding against the warped floorboards, and tossed a battered envelope onto my rickety kitchen table. "Read it and weep, kid. 30 days, or you're out on your ass with the rats." His voice softened just a fraction on that last word, like he hated saying it as much as I hated hearing it. I snatched the paper, my hands shaking. Another formal notice, typed in that impersonal font that made it all feel like a bad joke. "Lorenzo, come on. You know me. I'm not some deadbeat. The rent's always been late, but I've never skipped it entirely." He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me like I was one of his properties he was deciding whether to flip or foreclose. Rain hammered the fire escape outside, turning the alley into a slick black mirror. "Know you? I know your type, Jason. Dreamers who think the city's gonna roll out the red carpet. You got talent, I'll give you that. Saw those paintings in the window once. But talent don't pay bills." There it was again, that flicker in his eyes, admiration wrapped in thorns. I swallowed hard, the room suddenly too small, the air thick with the scent of wet wool from his jacket and the turpentine on my clothes. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe the whiskey from lunch, or the fear gnawing at my gut like a feral cat. But I stepped closer, close enough to see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, a souvenir from some long-ago bar fight. "What if I paint something for you? Trade, portrait, or whatever you want?" The words tumbled out, desperate and dumb, but his laugh, low and rumbling, like thunder rolling off the East River, stopped me cold. Not mocking exactly, surprised, intrigued. A portrait. He uncrossed his arms, the envelope forgotten on the table. "Of what, my ugly mug?" "Nah, kid. I ain't got time for fairy tales." But he didn't leave. He lingered, eyes tracing the chaos of my studio. Easels leaning like drunk soldiers, sketches pinned to every surface, a half-eaten pizza congealing on the counter. And then, softer, almost to himself, "Though, Maria always said I needed more art in my life." Maria, his wife, no, sister I'd overheard once. Still, the name hung between us like a warning sign. That night, after he'd grumbled something about thinking on it and slammed the door, gently, for him, I couldn't sleep. The rain turned to sleet, rattling the panes like accusations. I paced the apartment, charcoal in hand, sketching his face from memory. The strong jaw, the lines etched by too many hard winters, the mouth that could curl into a smile or a snarl with equal ease. By dawn, I'd filled 3 pages, each one a confession I couldn't voice. What was it about him? The way he filled a room, unapologetic and alive, in a city that chewed up vulnerability like gum on the subway tracks? Or maybe it was the loneliness I saw mirrored in him, the kind that comes from building walls so high even you can't climb them. The next week dragged like a hangover. I hustled odd jobs, dog walking in Prospect Park, bartending at a dive where the tips were as thin as the clientele. But the money barely covered ramen. Lorenzo didn't show, which was worse than his bluster. It left me stewing in silence, replaying that almost smile. Then, on a Friday that smelled like impending snow, he knocked. Not the battering ram this time, but 3 measured raps, polite as a suitor. I opened the door, and there he was, holding a 6-pack of Yangling and a paper bag greasy with takeout smells. "Arancini," from the way my stomach growled. "Figured you ain't eaten right," he said, brushing past without invitation. He set the bag down, cracked a beer, and handed it over like we'd done this 100 times. "So, about that portrait. You serious?" We ate on the floor, backs against the bed frame, the city humming below like a beast in hibernation. He really talked for the first time, about growing up in the Bronx, dodging bullets both literal and figurative, turning a rundown tenement into an empire. "Pops died when I was 16. Left me the building and a mountain of debt. Had to man up quick." His voice cracked on "man up," and I wondered what burdens he carried that no one else saw. I shared scraps of my own story. Small-town Ohio boy, outed in high school, fleeing to the lights of Manhattan with a duffel and a dream. Thought I'd be the next Basquiat. I joked, but it fell flat. He studied me then, beer halfway to his lips. "You could be kid, if you stop starving yourself for it." The kid stung less that night, felt more like an endearment. We finished the 6-pack, the arancini gone cold, and when he stood to leave, his hand lingered on my shoulder, warm, calloused, grounding. "Start that portrait Monday, and Jason, don't make me regret this." Monday came with a vengeance. Flurries whipping down Nostrand Avenue, the kind that turns sidewalks into skating rinks. Lorenzo showed up at noon, shrugging off his coat like it weighed a ton. He settled into the rickety chair I dragged center stage, under the north-facing window where the light was honest, unflinching. "Make me look good, all right? No warts." I laughed, mixing oils on my palette. Burnt sienna for his skin, ultramarine for those eyes that seemed to hold storm clouds. The session stretched into hours, broken only by his stories. The time he fixed Mrs. Kowalski's leaky roof for free, the nephew he was putting through college. He was a fortress, but cracks showed, mentions of the ex, who left because I worked too much. The way his gaze drifted to the family photo on my shelf, a faded shot of me and my sister at Pride. By dusk, the canvas was taking shape. His profile sharp against the blurred skyline, a man caught between worlds. He peered over my shoulder, breath warm on my neck. "Damn, that's me." Not vanity, awe. Our eyes met in the reflection of the window, and for a heartbeat, the room held its breath. Then he cleared his throat, grabbed his coat. "See you Wednesday." Those sessions became ritual. Twice a week, he'd arrive with coffee or cannoli, posing with the patience of a saint while I layered in the details. The silver threading his temples, the faint laugh lines that deepened when he forgot to scowl. Between brushstrokes, conversations deepened. Politics. He hated the gentrifiers pushing out folks like us. Dreams. He wanted to restore the lobby to its jazz age glory. Fears. Mine about fading into obscurity, his about leaving no legacy beyond bricks and mortar. One evening, as snow blanketed the fire escape, he asked about my love life. Casual, like asking the weather. I hesitated, brush hovering. Complicated. Last guy. Well, he said I was too much of a mess. Truth was, he'd called me distracted. But it amounted to the same. Lorenzo nodded, slow. Messes make the best art. Clean lines are for suckers. Was that advice or something more? His knee brushed mine under the easel, accidental, maybe, and neither of us moved. The attraction simmered, unspoken but electric. I'd catch him watching my hands on the canvas, the way paint flecked my knuckles like freckles. I'd steal glances at the corded muscles of his forearms, rolled sleeves exposing tattoos faded from time, a rosary on one, an anchor on the other. It was innocent, almost two souls adrift in the concrete jungle, finding harbor in shared silences. But New York being New York, innocence has a shelf life. It shattered on a Tuesday in late January. I just laid in the final shadows, his eyes alive and piercing, when my phone buzzed. A text from my agent. Gallery show greenlit, but I needed frames, shipping, the works. $500 I didn't have. Panic clawed up my throat. Lorenzo noticed, setting down his coffee. What's eating you? I spilled it all, the dream teetering on a knife's edge. He listened, then pulled out his wallet. Crisp hundreds, more than I'd seen in months. Here, payday advance on that portrait. I stared, pride warring with gratitude. Lorenzo, I can't. You can and you will. His hand closed over mine around the bills, warm and insistent. Time stuttered. The room narrowed to that point of contact, his thumb brushing my knuckles in what could have been comfort or a promise. We're in this together now, kid. Deal with it. That night, alone with the cash and the canvas, I realized the portrait wasn't just art anymore. It was a map to him, to us, and as the city lights flickered on below, I wondered if I was ready to follow where it led. February bit hard. All ice-slick streets and wind that howled like banshees through the subway grates. But in my apartment, warmth bloomed unexpected, fragile as the crocuses pushing through concrete cracks in Fort Greene Park. Lorenzo's advance saved the show. Frames ordered, pieces shipped, and in return, I poured everything into finishing his portrait. It became more than a trade. It was a bridge, spanning the chasm between landlord and tenant, straight and gay, guarded and yearning. Our sessions evolved. He'd arrive earlier, linger later. We'd walk to the diner on Fulton, splitting plates of eggs and hash under the glare of fluorescent tubes, trading barbs about the Knicks' latest collapse or the mayor's empty promises. He opened up about his family, the mother in Queens who still lit candles for him at St. Lucy's, the brother who'd OD'd young, leaving a void no amount of square footage could fill. I build things to keep from falling apart, he admitted one gray morning, steam rising from our coffees like ghosts. I shared too. The ache of coming out to parents who loved me but didn't understand, the parade of hookups that left me hollower than before. Love's a scam in this city, I said, half joking, as we trudged back through slush. He bumped my shoulder, playful. Nah, just gotta find the right mark. His words hung, double-edged, and I felt the pull, magnetic and terrifying. The portrait neared completion, but so did something else. Touches multiplied. A hand on my back guiding me from the cold, fingers lingering when passing a tool. Our laughs synced, easy as breathing. One night, after a session running late, he stayed for dinner. Pasta primavera from a jar, elevated by his stories of Nana's kitchen in Little Italy. We sat cross-legged on the bed, plates balanced on knees, the canvas propped nearby like a third wheel. You see it yet? He asked, twirling spaghetti. How it's more than paint. I met his gaze, heart thudding. Yeah, I see you, Lorenzo. All of you. The air thickened, charged. He set his plate aside, leaned in, not abrupt, but inevitable, like the tide claiming shore. Our lips met, tentative at first, then hungry, years of restraint unraveling in a kiss that tasted of garlic and possibility. His hands framed my face, rough palms gentle, and for that moment, the world outside ceased. Rent, regrets, the relentless grind of survival. We pulled back, breathless, foreheads touching. Jason. His voice was wrecked, laced with wonder and fear. This us, it's crazy. I'm twice your age, got baggage longer than the BQE. I traced the scar on his brow, memorizing its ridge. Crazy's my middle name. And baggage? We all got it. Question is, do we carry it alone? He stayed that night, not for more than whispered confessions and tangled limbs under threadbare sheets. Just holding, as if afraid I'd vanish by dawn. We talked till the sky lightened. His marriage in his 20s, a college sweetheart who'd checked all the boxes but none of the sparks. The divorce that left him questioning everything, including the parts of himself he'd buried under macho bluster. Thought I was broken, he murmured into my hair. Till you. Morning brought reality's chill. He dressed quietly, kissing me goodbye with a promise. We'll figure this. But doubt crept in as he descended the stairs, his footsteps echoing like a countdown. The gallery opening was a whirlwind. Critics in skinny ties sipping cheap Chardonnay. My pieces splashed across white walls like wounds laid bare. Raw emotion. One murmured, scribbling notes. Queer urban grit. Sales trickled in, enough to cover rent and then some. I texted Lorenzo a photo. Me in a thrift store blazer, grinning amid the chaos. His reply, proud of you, kid. Beers after? We met at a dive in Williamsburg, neon buzzing over scarred booths. He enveloped me in a hug that drew stares, but he didn't care. Lorenzo Vitali, unapologetic. Over IPAs, he confessed more. The internalized shame from Catholic school, the one-night stands in his youth that left him running scared. You're the first who's made me want to stay. I squeezed his hand under the table, the gesture small but seismic. But paradise in New York is rented, not owned. Cracks appeared mid-March, subtle as hairline fractures in glass. Calls from his sister, Maria, grew frequent. Urgent tones bleeding through thin walls. I'd overhear snippets. Family dinner, Lorenzo. Nana's asking. He'd brush it off, but tension coiled in his shoulders during sessions. Now just excuses to be near. Then came the bomb. A Thursday evening, me prepping for a follow-up show. Him arriving with takeout and a face like thunder. We gotta talk. He paced, avoiding the canvas. Finished, framed, waiting for his approval. Maria set me up. Blind date. Some lawyer from the old neighborhood. Says it's time I settled down proper. The word proper landed like a slap. I set down my brush, while rising. And? You going? He stopped, raking hands through his hair. I said no, but she won't drop it. Keeps going on about legacy, grandkids, the whole Italian playbook. His eyes pleaded for understanding, absolution. I crossed to him, cupping his face. Then tell her. About us. He flinched, not from my touch, but the idea. It's not that simple, Jason. These people raised me. Blood's thicker than whatever this is. The hesitation gutted me. This? Lorenzo, this is us. Real as that portrait. We argued then, voices rising like steam from manholes. Me accusing him of cowardice. Him defending with the weight of generations. You don't get it. You with your art world freedom. I got a life here, roots. Doors slammed, words sharper than shards. He left in a fury, the takeout untouched. My heart a bruise blooming dark. Days blurred into silence. No knocks, no texts. The building felt haunted. His absence a specter in every creak. I threw myself into work, but the joy had leached out. Colors muddied on canvas, strokes heavy with betrayal's shadow. Friends noticed. My sister, visiting from Ohio, cornered me over coffee at a midtown cafe. This Lorenzo guy, he's got you twisted up. Worth it. I stared into my latte, foam swirling like storm clouds. He is. Was. But doubt festered. Was I just a phase, a midlife detour for a man chained to convention? The betrayal hit on a balmy April night, air thick with lilac from the window boxes. I'd been out, drowning doubts in gin at a queer bar in Bushwick, when my phone lit up. Maria's number. Unknown to me, but curiosity won. Jason? It's Lorenzo's sister. We need to talk. Now. She met me in the lobby, elegant in pearls and a sheath dress. Eyes sharp as her brother's but softer around the edges. I know about you too. My stomach dropped. He told you. A sad smile. Not in so many words. But I see things. The way he lights up after maintenance calls. The portrait in his office he stares at like it's the Madonna. Relief ward with dread. Then she dropped the hammer. He's seeing her. The lawyer. Dinner last night. Said it was to shut me up. But photos don't lie. She slid her phone across the marble floor. A blurry shot from some family group chat. Lorenzo, arm around a brunette in a red dress, laughing at a candlelit table. My vision tunneled. He said it was nothing. Maria sighed, gathering her purse. Men like my brother, they love hard, but they break harder. Fix him, Jason. Or let him go. She left me there, the lobby spinning, Betrayals taste metallic on my tongue. I confronted him the next dawn, pounding on his door across the hall. His private quarters off-limits till then. He opened in boxers and a tank, sleep-rumpled, shock widening his eyes. "Jason? What the? Explain this." I thrust the phone at him, the photo glaring. His face crumpled. Not denial but defeat. It was one dinner, to get Maria off my back. Nothing happened. But it did. To us. Tears burned, hot and unbidden. "You're choosing them over me. Again." He reached for me but I recoiled.
"I'm scared, all right."
Of losing everything. Family, respect, the man I thought I was. His voice broke, raw. "But losing you? That's worse. Give me time." Time. The thief of hearts. I stormed back to my apartment, slamming the door on his pleas. The portrait mocked me from the wall, his eyes following as I sank to the floor, sobs racking like the trains below. Betrayal wasn't the dinner. It was the lie he told himself, that he could have both worlds without the world burning. Weeks crawled by in limbo. He slipped rent notices under my door, anonymous as sin. I painted furiously, abstracts of fractured light, shards of blue and gold, but sold none. The city turned hostile. Muggings in the park, sirens wailing like laments. My sister called, urging escape. "Come home, Jay. New York's killing you." But roots, even shallow ones, cling. And love? It's a weed, stubborn and thorny. The climax brewed on a humid May evening, thunder rumbling over the harbor like divine discontent. I'd been avoiding him, but fate, or the building's faulty wiring, forced our hand. Smoke alarms shrieked at midnight. A short in the basement, flames licking up the utility shafts. Chaos erupted. Tenants fleeing in robes and slippers, sirens converging on our block like avenging angels. I bolted down the stairs, canvas bag over shoulder. Instinct, grabbing my life's work. In the frenzy, I spotted Mrs. Kowalski, 80-something and frail, frozen on the second landing. "Jason, help!" No time for heroes. I scooped her up, birdlight in my arms, navigating the smoke-choked hall. Coughs tore at my throat, eyes streaming, but her grip anchored me. Halfway down, a beam groaned, then buckled. I shoved her toward the exit, twisting to shield. Pain exploded across my back, the world inverting in a roar of timber and fire. I hit the landing hard, breath knocked out, heat searing like judgment. Voices shouted, firemen, neighbors, but one cut through. "Jason! Dio mio, no! Lorenzo!" He burst through the haze, soot-streaked and wild-eyed, scooping me up like I weighed nothing. "Hold on, kid. I got you." His arms were iron, voice steel, carrying me into the night air where ambulances flashed blue redemption. Mrs. Kowalski wept nearby, safe. The building smoldered, a pyre for what we'd lost. In the ER, amid beeps and antiseptic sting, he never left my side. Stitches for the gash, bruises blooming purple, but alive. He held my hand as morphine dulled the edges, whispering apologies into the dim. I ended it. The date, the lies. Told Maria everything. She cried, called me every name, but she hugged me after. Said family's family. I searched his face, battered but beautiful. "And you? What about you?" He leaned close, kiss featherlight on my brow. "I'm yours, Jason. If you'll have me. No more hiding." Dawn broke over the skyline, gilding the hospital window. We'd lost the building. Insurance fights loomed, rebuild or sell. But gained something rarer. Truth, forged in fire. Recovery was a slow burn. Days bleeding into weeks in a borrowed room at my sister's friend's place in Crown Heights. Spare bed, exposed pipes, but a roof that didn't threaten collapse. Lorenzo visited daily, smuggling in cannoli and contraband coffees. His presence a balm on wounds deeper than the scars. The fire made headlines. Bed Stewie Blaze displaces dozen. With a blurry shot of him carrying me out, captioned, "Landlord turns hero." Reporters sniffed around, but he stonewalled them, focused laser-sharp on us. Maria came once, tentative as a truce flag. She brought lasagna, still warm from her oven, and sat at my bedside with hands folded like prayer. You scared him good, kid. Never seen Lorenzo like that. Pacing the waiting room, praying to saints he forgot. Her eyes, so like his, softened. I was wrong. About the date, the pressure. Love ain't a checklist. We talked then, really talked, about family as anchor and chain, the immigrant grit that built empires but bent backs. By the time she left, we'd forged a fragile alliance, sealed with a slice of cheesy forgiveness. The betrayal's echo lingered, though a shadow in quiet moments. Nights when pain flared, I'd wake sweating, dreams of flames and fleeing figures. Lorenzo would pull me close, murmuring, I'm here, not going anywhere. But words are wind, actions etched the proof. He sold a parcel of property, not the building but enough to fund rehabs for displaced tenants, including me. Fresh start, he said, handing over keys to a gut-renovated unit in Bushwick, rent-free for a year. Paint the walls whatever color you want, long as it's not that god-awful teal. Summer unfurled lazy and lush, humidity wrapping the boroughs in a haze of possibility. My follow-up show sold out, buyers drawn to the Fire series. Abstracts born of that night's inferno. Swirls of crimson and ash, resilience rendered in oils. Critics called it a queer odyssey through urban apocalypse. And for once, the label fit, not reductive but revelatory. Checks cleared, debts dwindled. For the first time, art felt like armor, not Achilles' heel. Lorenzo and I built slow, deliberate, weekends at Coney Island, feet in the surf, him teaching me to toss a frisbee while gulls wheeled overhead. Dinners at his sister's, where I'd arrive nervous, leave stuffed and accepted. Nana pinching my cheeks, declaring me bono ragazzo. Pride that June was a revelation. Him in a rainbow tee stretched taut over his chest, hand firm in mine as we marched down Fifth, confetti raining like blessings. Strangers cheered. Old prejudices wilted in the heat. This is home, he shouted over the drums, and I believed him. But conflict's embers smolder. August brought a curveball. Developers circling the burned-out lot, waving fat checks for a glossy condo tower. Gentrification's wet dream. He spat over beers at our spot. The same dive where we'd kissed months back. The offer tempted, retire early, sail the Mediterranean like Pops always dreamed. But it'd erase us, Jason. The souls who made this block beat. We argued again, but softer now. Stakes personal, not existential. I pushed for fight. Preserve it. Turn it into co-op artist space. Your legacy, real one. He paced the rooftop deck of our new place. City lights sprawling like a lover's limbs. Risky. Banks hate dreamers. Thunder grumbled distant, mirroring the storm in his eyes. That night, as rain lashed the skylight, we stripped bare. Not bodies, but souls. He confessed the deepest cut. A letter from his ex, post-fire, offering reconciliation. Said she saw the news, realized she judged too quick. Wants to try again. For the family we could have. His voice trembled, vulnerability cracking the facade. I froze, old wounds reopening. And you? Tempted. He knelt before me, hands on my knees, gaze steady as Brooklyn bedrock. Never. She was safety, you? Your fire, scary, beautiful, alive. I choose you every damn time. Tears tracked his cheeks, mirroring mine. We held each other through the deluge. Rain a rhythm to our vows unspoken. No more halves, only wholes. The climax, our second, sweeter, unfolded in September's golden hush. Community meetings packed the VFW hall, tenants and activists chanting against the suits. Lorenzo stood at the podium, tie loosened, voice booming with that Bronx fire. This ain't just land. It's lives, stories. My partner's art hangs in MoMA now, born from these streets. We rebuild or we lose our soul. Cheers erupted. Petitions flew. The developers balked, then folded. Zoning hurdles too high, public tide turned. We broke ground that fall, hard hats and shovels under crisp skies. I sketched the plans. Lofts for artists, ground floor gallery, Rooftop garden for Nana's tomatoes. Lorenzo's hand in mine, dirt-caked and sure. We did this, he whispered. You and me. Winter crept back, but warmer now. Holidays at Maria's. Him carving turkey, me basting lax for the mishmash feast. New Year's on the Williamsburg Bridge. Fireworks bursting over the East River like stars reclaiming the night. We toasted with plastic flutes. To unexpected collections, he quipped, pulling me close. Betrayal's scar faded to silver, a reminder not of fracture but fusion. Love, I learned, isn't absence of storm. It's dancing in the downpour. Humanistic, yeah. Flawed folks forging grace from grit. In a city that devours the weak but elevates the bold. Spring bloomed again, and with it, permanence. On a bench in Prospect Park, cherry blossoms shedding like confetti, he slid a key. Not to an apartment, but a promise. Move in. For real. Build with me. No knee, no ring, just us, raw and right. I took it, sealing with a kiss that echoed our first. Tentative, then timeless. Yeah, Lorenzo, let's build. The portrait hangs now in our living room, his eyes watchful, proud. Below it, fresh canvases wait, blank as possibility. New York endures. Horns blaring, dreams deferring, hearts insisting. And in this corner of it, two men, queer, unbowed, claim their story. Not fairy tale, but real as rain on fire escapes. Love collected in the unexpected spaces between.